Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our webcast on understanding AI and its strategic importance for CEOs with our very own Chief AI Officer, Kurt Gooden. Today's session is the first of a four-part AI series we have assembled with thought leaders in the community, and we hope to see you at each of them. CEO Coaching International coaches thousands of CEOs and their leadership teams around the world in over 80 countries worldwide. During the presentation, note that you are in chat-only mode. As the discussion unfolds, feel free to submit your questions in the Q&A box. And now, it is with tremendous pleasure to introduce and hand things over to John Harmeling, Chief Revenue Officer of CEO Coaching International.
Hello and welcome to our webcast today on understanding AI and its strategic importance for CEOs. My name is John Harmeling, Chief Revenue Officer at CEO Coaching International. We are a CEO coaching firm that has worked with thousands of CEOs and entrepreneurs all around the world to help them take their businesses to the next level. And one of the things that makes us different is that we are obsessed with results. Our 2023 performance results just came in and showed that clients that are with us for 2 years or more experience 2.6 times greater revenue growth and 5 times the EBITDA growth against the US average. So we see over and over again that our tools and our methodology work, and that our coaches are the best in the world, having faced many of the same problems you're facing today. We're here to help you stay ahead of the curve. Now, the curve on AI is fast moving and it's massively important. It's sometimes intimidating and is probably critical for your business. And candidly, it's our job to keep you ahead of that curve. So this is the first in a series of webcasts on AI that we're providing for you. We're going to answer a lot of big questions today, and we've received dozens of questions from the hundreds of you who've registered as well. So we'll try to get to as many as we can. Please keep them coming in the question box. But if you have specific questions around AI or its implications on your business, please know that our coaches will be happy to meet with you in a complimentary session to begin to unpack what AI might mean for your industry or your market or your business and how you can go on offense. So please use the link in the chat to book time with our coaches if you think that might be helpful too. Today, I'm hosting a conversation with our Chief AI Officer, Kurt Gooden, to walk you through some of the essentials of AI. Think of today like a primer on artificial intelligence and what it might mean for your business. Kurt is an accomplished C-suite IT executive. He has over 2 decades of hugely successful leadership and innovation in the IT sector. He has served as a CIO at high growth companies like TaskUs and Everise. He's led IT functions at IntraWest, Aegis, Source Corp, TTC, just to name a few. He's also currently a faculty member at the Vijay Institute of Artificial Intelligence, where he works with countless future leaders in AI. And as the Chief AI Officer at CEO Coaching International, he helps CEOs like you define and realize their AI vision and meaningfully integrate AI into their business strategy and operations. By the way, attendees of this webcast can also book complimentary time with Kurt to see how you can help develop your AI strategy. So just use that same link in the chat to book as well. So welcome, Kurt.
Thank you, John. Great to be here. Look forward to the conversation.
Terrific. So I'm going to start with who else? Elon Musk, who recently said that AI is, quote, far more dangerous than nuclear weapons. Now, while that might sound extreme, it's not an uncommon sentiment that we hear in the market these days. Kurt, can you just start by simply defining AI, but then sharing how should CEOs balance the fear that's commonly heard in the market against the potential of AI in their businesses?
Sure. And AI right now is it's a big buzzword. I mean, the term AI, artificial intelligence, has been around since the 1950s, really since computers have come about. And simply, it just means having computers act as humans. So there is a lot of various technologies and a lot of various components underneath it, which is really what has kind of led to this AI revolution, if you will. And although I don't agree with Elon's comments that it's as dangerous as nuclear weapons, there is a lot of fear right now, and it's because we are at such an infancy. And from a CEO perspective, actually from a company perspective, there's fear on both sides. There's fears on the CEO side because it is so new and it is hard to understand, and CEOs just don't understand it yet. And then on the employee side, you have a lot of fear because employees think it's going to take over their job. So really what I want to do is help people understand it from both sides of that equation. CEOs need to understand it. They need to stay informed. They need to stay educated about AI because it is a tremendously transformative technology. Employees need to understand that it's a tool and it's a capability that's really going to help them in all of their work.
So I want to probe on that point around employees in a second, but I want to start kind of, the zoom out the big picture, because we've seen the massive numbers thrown around AI. One recently I saw was a McKinsey report stated that AI could deliver like $13 trillion of additional global economic activity by something like 2030. Everyone has a data point like this though. And there's some huge number, there's some incredible impact, a lot of hype, big predictions. And Kurt, you're aware of our current research at CEO Coaching. We've recently completed a study that's really fascinating. It talked to CEOs and asked CEOs on a scale of 1 to 10, rate the importance of having an AI strategy. And they rated it as a 9. Yet they rate their current AI strategy, their current readiness, like a 2. So again, AIs say they rate having an AI strategy as critically important a 9, but they aren't ready and they don't have a strategy. And that gap tells me that CEOs want to act, but they maybe sometimes don't know how to take that first step. What advice do you have on taking the first step in developing and enacting a clear AI strategy?
Yeah, a couple things. First, I would say my advice is just don't be distracted by the shiny new thing and probably ignore most of the sales pitches that you're seeing. And right now, the market is flooded with emails coming across in every application saying they use AI this, AI that, and they're going to change the world. Now, some might be good, some might be bad. But really, my advice for CEOs in regards to how to get started is don't change your business fundamentals. Don't try to force a new tool and think it's going to change everything. Keep true to the good business fundamentals and business processes that have made the company successful, and then learn about AI. So start educating yourself in regards to what can it mean for my industry? What can it mean for my company? And then you start taking your biggest problems, your biggest opportunities, and start aligning your roadmap in regards to how do we need to take technology to utilize or to fix this problem or take advantage of this opportunity. In regards to also learning about AI and just understanding the capabilities, they need to foster a culture of innovation. It's never one individual's job to come in and bring AI to a company. What a CEO needs to do is set a clear vision from the top, give the tools, give the training to the employees down below, and everybody needs to build up this culture of trying out AI, understanding its capabilities, and then start adapting it in regards to where is it going to help the organization. Right now, there's a huge difference in regards to usage of AI and fear of using AI. Just take ChatGPT, for example, or Gemini, any of the LLMs. There's all these studies done. I think the latest one I saw is they asked a bunch of employees who's using ChatGPT at work, and it was like 80%, 70 to 80% is what the number was. Then they took those same people and asked, of you, how many are telling your boss that you're using ChatGPT? And the number drops to about 5 to 7%. So right there, it shows you not only is there this lack of understanding about AI, but there's this fear of using it. And that's why I said CEOs really need to encourage it throughout the organization.
So what about from a strategy standpoint? Because I've heard you talk before about being business problem led or being technology led. And yes, sometimes how it can be seductive to be led by the technology into developing solutions as opposed to talking about the business problem first and seeing what the technology can enable. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the technology that you see out there and a lot of people rushing into put technology here, I mean, it really is a hammer looking for a nail, and it's just trying to force technology in for technology's sake. But what really needs to happen and is figuring out what are the capabilities of AI, what are the opportunities, what are the problems that we have. So what I would say is look at it in regards to what are those quick wins. I call those kind of the productivity enhancements. Every organization has their internal functions that's going to find gains within AI. You just start utilizing it, and we can get into the details of what that means as to how to do that, but you're going to find these quick productivity wins. But at the same time, I would be looking in regards to what can this do and what can it apply to our specific company in regards to an application that we either need, a service that we can provide, or kind of lining it up to that new capability. And AI at the core is really built around data. I mean, when we get down into the details of it, a lot of it has to do with what kind of data processing do we have. So the other step that I would say is start identifying your data landscape, understanding the data you have. Is it structured? Is it organized? Is it the data you need? So those are kind of like the three building blocks. When we go through and help companies, that's usually where it starts ending up, is identifying those quick wins, identifying some of those long-term strategic efforts, and then laying that foundation for figuring out your data so you can build the right strategy to accomplish your goals.
But at the core, I'm hearing you say, don't get distracted by the shiny object or the capability. Stay focused on the business strategy and what you're trying to achieve as a business, and let AI enable that.
Business fundamentals are business fundamentals. So right now, again, it is such an overhyped and overused buzzword in regards to AI that everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. Don't get distracted by that. You can get into, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what some of these technologies are. So AI is this big buzzword. And what has really caused this AI revolution is, fast forward into about the 1980s, there was a technique or a technology created called machine learning. And machine learning has been around now for a few decades, and it's essentially just taking lots and lots of data, processing it very efficiently, identifying patterns or trends within that data, and then using algorithms to make predictions based off of it. Now fast forward into the 2010s, and we took this machine learning and it's transformed into this technology called deep learning. Deep learning, it uses artificial neural network, so it's a different way of processing data. I'm not going to bore everybody and get into the specifics on that right now, but what that has enabled is really a much more efficient way of processing data, like self-driving cars, where it has to process a lot of data very quickly and react. And then that's created into this creation of large language models because of the compute power that we've had and the deep learning technologies. So now it's created this generative AI, which is truly applying logic and creating new content. So you have to really think about what are the aspects that we're trying to do, what is going to solve our problem, and what's going to be most beneficial for our organization. And that's why I said CEOs need to really kind of understand the basics about what these capabilities are and perpetuate it through the organization to build out that strategy as to what we're trying to solve. If technology isn't there today to solve their problem, it will be when you look at the exponential growth that we're at within these technologies right now.
We're getting a lot of questions in the question box around the large language models, and specifically ChatGPT, and especially around, give me an example or two of large language model applications that could benefit a CEO today. Can you share a couple of those, because there's a lot of questions around exactly that topic right now.
Sure. And large language models, I mean, really what these are is it's taken just massive amounts of data to create these models, and it's able to apply logic and create content based on what you're inputting into it. So if you think about where can we actually get some value right away? My advice is to everybody is just start using them in regards to any of the big models. ChatGPT is obviously one well known. You have Claude, which is by a company called Anthropic. You have Gemini, which is by Google. These are just some of the big ones. And what you need to do is you start learning effective prompting techniques. You have to learn how to use these tools effectively. I've heard this from a lot of people. They say, oh, I tried ChatGPT. I put in a basic question and it gave me a very simple basic answer. And it's because they're not using it correctly. They don't know how to prompt efficiently, because these tools are so incredible that they're going to do exactly what you ask. So how do you find benefits in it right away? You learn how to use the tools. You learn how to use effective prompting. Utilize a ChatGPT, utilize a Gemini, any of those. And for any business process, you're going to find benefit to it. whether it's in HR and you start screening resumes or start creating job descriptions or start reviewing and revising handbooks. There are all sorts of applications because you can now throw in massive amounts of data into these large language models, have them do amazing data analysis. You can have them create new content. And there's every function within an organization has some sort of applicability into this. Sales can start generating content, can start doing lead generation. Customer service can do a lot of personalization. So there's all sorts of these, just what I call quick wins. I want to touch on another area that I think is really important, which is it's not just about utilizing ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these large language models, but it really comes into automation as well. The term I like right now is intelligent process automation. And it's by using just traditional workflow tools and workflow applications, tying those into these intelligent LLM processes. And then what you can do is, instead of just using ChatGPT to analyze a resume against a job description and give you that report, you build this into a workflow to take all of the resumes that are coming in, parse them out by what job are they trying to go to, evaluate the resume against the specific job description, email a report, file it away, do whatever you do with it. So by putting this automation and plugging these intelligence algorithms into it, you now have this ability to scale up your operations and do these things at an incredibly efficient rate.
Yeah, one of the things I've observed and some of the things we're working internal to CEO coaching around AI apps is your insistence on a lot of input. And so that's not just in the prompt, but let's give a lot of data, let's give a lot of context, let's give a lot of everything. And then the output is naturally enhanced because of that, which I think is a terrific learning that I've had personally when I've observed some of the things that you're building. You mentioned customer service, which obviously is another space for large language models, and it's super fascinating. And ChatGPT and others obviously are being actively leveraged today in customer service models to automate customer interactions. This has been done for a long time, though, with IVRs and chatbots and other technology. And I personally have a point of view on these, and it's not a positive one. But how can CEOs ensure that these models actually improve the customer experience rather than detract from it when, you know, people like me, I'm frustrated when I want to talk to a human?
Absolutely. And this is an area where AI is making huge strides. You're going to see more and more AI coming into customer service. And the simple answer to that is testing it and monitoring it. So there have been a lot of studies done which say you get a lot better feedback if you're honest to people and telling them they're talking to a computer. So this is, you know, from a chat perspective. So you put that up front, and then the intelligence behind these algorithms and these large language models is really getting so good that it can do a lot. It can do a fantastic job in regards to natural language processing, understanding the context, and you put the guidelines into these prompts and into these configurations. So where it used to sound very, very robotic, you're seeing these tones and these styles become much more conversational. And now you're getting into the world of voice as well. And now you're just going to have these voice interactions with a computer. So there is lots that's moving in regards to customer service. And now think about not just the interaction piece, but the data analytics and the intelligence behind it, where it can look up that customer, it can understand who that customer is, what their preferences are, and then it can automatically adapt that style to what the customer's profile says. So not only are we going to see these efficient conversational customer service mechanisms, you're going to see a lot more personalization in these customer service algorithms. So the big key, though, is you have to monitor them. You have to see how they're working, and you constantly have to update them or tune them in regards to getting the results you want. So we're still at the early stages of it, but it's a huge area that's going to just be exploding within it, or for AI.
Imagine so, especially when you start to talk about empowering AI to be able to make decisions based on business, needs, algorithms, data that helps you inform some of those types of decisions too, right?
Absolutely. And if you look at that, so think about how the old empowerment or how the old technology used to be in customer service. It had to be very, this or that. If the dollar amount was below this, it was approved. It was above this, it was denied. I mean, you had these very hard rules that people had to program. Now you can just put these algorithms in, and you can have the AI sitting there doing interpretation, doing analysis, and it can take all of the data that you want into account. And it can actually then start making these decisions the same way that you would have a human. But you also should have a human handoff, where if you're building a customer service app or building it for AI, have that handoff to say, if somebody really does want to talk to somebody, or if it hits a certain threshold, or I need verification, have a good seamless integration into a human agent as well. But I'll also throw in a cautionary tale, because I don't know if you saw this in the news a few months ago, but Air Canada had an issue where their chatbot was doing customer service to an individual, and it gave them incorrect information on a bereavement fare. So they sued Air Canada, and they ended up losing that lawsuit. And basically, it wasn't a lot of money. They had to pay a few $100s to the individual. But think about that, is now companies absolutely are liable for what their chatbots are telling customers. So this is the other reason why you need to make sure that you're doing it correctly, you're monitoring it, and you are liable for what it says.
Yeah, fair. A couple of seconds ago, you took us on a tour of different functional areas inside a business. So customer service, or HR, or marketing, or lead gen. And there's a question we've gotten several times today: what functional area of a business is typically most ripe for opportunity for integrating AI?
Yeah, and I'm still going to stand by every function, but I'll give you a few examples. HR is usually one that adopts it very quickly, because they are dealing with doing a lot of manuals, doing a lot of screening, doing a lot of analysis, and doing a lot of creation of documents. All great examples of how to utilize AI. Financial functions are utilizing it as well, because the advanced capabilities in regards to doing analysis of data and interpretation and predictability is another huge area. Sales, from that personalization standpoint, from that just data analysis standpoint, is another great opportunity. But really, I mean, I will say every function within a company is going to have some good use case. And if they don't know what it is going in, once they start utilizing these tools and start broadening their knowledge about them, they're going to find those use cases.
Nice. Good. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about how CEOs can nurture a culture of innovation in their companies, especially through the lens of AI. And I'm going to hit you with a quote by Reid Hoffman, who, I don't know if you remember when he said, "If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late." So for CEOs who are curious about AI and they want to get their team experimenting, but they don't want to distract the team, how do you encourage a culture of rapid experimentation without losing focus?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and there's a few steps. So first is, it's up to the CEO to drive creating that clear AI vision. I mean, be open and transparent in regards to how you want to do AI within the organization. I advise everybody to create an AI policy, which then spells out for the entire company, how do we want to utilize AI, put in the ethical use of AI, put in, your specific goals for AI. And then you build that down, which is, you need to provide the tools and the training to the organization, help them understand what it is, and give them the tools to play around with it. When you're building this culture of innovation, it's not just about telling somebody, go do this, go play with it, but also find those mechanisms to get that feedback and allow people to share their results. If you're a Slack organization, set up the Slack channels for people to share what they're finding with AI, for them to share their own use cases. Set up an online community for people to go in and provide their feedback in regards to what their experiences are. There, you can also, if you want to tie it to a rewards and recognition process, the best AI project that's come about. There are lots of ways to really kind of drive that innovation, but in my opinion, it really does kind of start from the top down, creating that policy and pushing down the enablement to the teams to be able to play with it. And by the way, I think the CEO needs to play with it as well. I want them learning those tools and playing with the ChatGPTs and doing all that and sharing their results as well.
Let me get your reaction to Google's AI team and their policy. they have, I think it's pretty famous that they have this kind of 20% time rule that allows employees to work on side projects, things that aren't part of their job description, but are things that interest them with respect to AI. Do you like that? Is that a good idea? How can CEOs maybe think about implementing similar strategies to kind of spur implementation or experimentation?
I mean, it's going to be up to the individual company if that's the right approach for them or not. So what I mean by that is they can carve out specific time and they can basically just encourage it if you're trying to really encourage people to learn it in any way possible. Or you can actually then just tie it to specific business goals, meaning give people some goals that say, here's some business problems that we're trying to solve, make a competition out of it in regards to can anybody solve it. You can also then just utilize it in regards to creating innovation labs. You can just have this open, safe space where you can encourage people to play with it. So I think figuring out whether you want to align AI specific to your business use cases to the other end of the spectrum, which is you just want to dedicate time and allow people to go play with it for personal use, personal growth. That really depends on the specific organization. But the only thing that I think would be the wrong approach for a company is to ignore it. If they're not talking about it, if they're not helping people understand it, that's the wrong approach. You need to have basically a view and a mindset as to how you want your company to approach it, whether that's a crawl, walk, or run strategy. You need to do something, and you need to start doing that now, in my opinion.
Yeah. Let's stay on people, and let's talk about AI talent, which is obviously in huge demand these days. And Deloitte recently released results showing that 63% of small and medium-sized businesses lack the technical capabilities for AI adoption. So I'm a CEO. Do I hire AI talent? Do I outsource it? Do I rent it? What do I do to infuse this type of talent into my organization?
Yeah, great question. And I think there's a lot of misconception out there right now. The majority of companies, in my opinion, don't need to go hire dedicated AI talent per se. The true AI engineers, they're the ones who are building these large language models. They're the ones who are building all these technical capabilities. And there's lots of that. There's a huge need for that. But the companies that I'm mostly talking to and the companies that I'm dealing with, what they need is the ability to utilize that technology, not create that technology. We're in this space right now where there's such advanced technology that is open to everybody. What I advise people to is think about it in regards to how would it help your company and who do you need to that can actually help kind of nudge you along and guide you in the right direction. And usually for smaller companies specifically, that's getting somebody with technical resources who understands basic technology, who can help set up these tools, who can help link applications together and get some of these workflows. So you don't need a true AI engineer, you just need good IT talent. And a lot of times it can be junior talent. The other side of that is these tools are available. Go out and get training, go out and upskill your existing staff. A lot of people have an interest in this. So figure out what is that path to be able to upskill my talent who does have that interest. You get past that, and then if you have a specific project or you need something developed, that's really, you have that choice. I mean, am I truly building out a development team to do it, or do I go find a good partner that I can partner with that can help me build it? And usually for smaller, mid-sized companies, that's usually the right path, is then find a good partner who can then work with me and develop this application. We at CEOCI have a great strategic partner network, and I have several AI vendors that can help companies in all various aspects of AI build out their solutions.
But on the training front, because you said that's kind of a quick hit, like who do I pick up the phone and call? I mean, what's the quickest and most pragmatic way a CEO can address a skills gap and train up their workforce?
There are, first of all, we do that at CEOCI, do workshops in regards to training and understanding, and there are all sorts of online courses, there are all sorts of workshops, and it really depends as to what scale do you want to do. I would say it's everything from an awareness training, hour and a half type, just understanding the basics, into you can get into these weeks-long courses, which really dig deep in regards to how to apply it in the various use cases and everything in between. So I mean, there are so many different options right there. I just recommend reach out and, we can help you through that process if that's something that we want to guide you through.
Good stuff. You had referenced when we were talking about fear, which is a real thing around AI, and you had referenced employee fear, and we've gotten this audience question several times today. A lot of discussion on how jobs will become obsolete due to AI. And there are significant portions, like half the workforce fears their job's going to be made obsolete because of the technology. How should CEOs be thinking about that? What strategies can they employ to reassure their workforce? How do they make sure that AI is complementary? How ought they to be thinking about that fear, that employee fear, and how to treat that in terms of creating new opportunities inside their companies?
And that fear is real. I mean, I have talked to a lot of employee groups that truly have that fear. What I would say is for the entire organization, for CEOs down, it is that open and honest communication and collaboration. Building that community of innovation is also building a community of transparency around AI. And what I tell employees, or how I like them to think about it, is AI is a tool. I mean, simply going back is like the calculator is to math. It's a tool and it's a capability that you use. If you're really good at your job and you learn how to use these tools effectively, you're going to become that much better at your job. There is going to be all sorts of new opportunities, new areas created within AI as companies start figuring out where's the right use case for AI for us. And as companies start growing, so now they're becoming much more effective, employees are becoming more effective, they're saving time, they're saving money, companies are increasing revenue, companies are increasing profits. That's not usually the time that companies then decide to go lay off employees. What they do is they're usually taking that money and reinvesting it into additional functions or into additional growth. So I think people, they shouldn't look at it as a fear that AI is going to take my job. They should look at it as an opportunity in regards to how can I utilize AI to enhance my job. Somebody said, a few weeks ago at a conference, I have to look it up, but basically, AI is not going to take your job. Somebody who utilizes AI effectively is going to take your job. And that's really the fear, is if you don't learn it, if you don't embrace it, if you don't utilize these tools and these skills that are available to you, that's really where the worry is for a lot of people.
That makes sense. For a while, I've kind of held this position that the creative industries are the ones that'll persist beyond AI, that human creativity cannot be replaced by AI. Then I saw Sora, the AI video generator, and I doubted myself. What's your view of how AI can be used in creative capacities, and how fast is AI catching up?
Yeah, AI as a technical capability is catching up fast, and Sora is just the best example of it. I mean, go look at the capabilities that it has. You look at the image creation capabilities. Dolly's good, but go look at what Midjourney is doing, and the images are just phenomenal. And Sora, when they released it or when they announced it, they put out all these videos and showing this just amazing.
Can you describe exactly what Sora is for the audience? Make sure.
Sora is OpenAI's product that creates videos from text. So, you just type in a text prompt and it creates a full video of it. And it is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I will say, remember that Sora is trained all on human-generated content. I mean, these models all had to be trained. So it's using the basis of human-generated content and now creating new video just from text. But really where the magic is I think it's going to be utilized as a tool. OpenAI put out a blog post a couple months ago that they also then released Sora to a group of creative individuals, all sorts of different disciplines, and basically said, go crazy, do whatever you want with it. And then this blog post is a summary of each one of their experiences with it and a video of their project. The basic philosophy or the basic feedback was they felt unconstrained now, and they had the freedom to do whatever was in their mind. And these videos are fantastic. And that's really where I think we're going to see this capability come, is it's not that the AI tools are going to replace human creativity. they're going to help people just embrace their creative spirit and create all sorts of new things in ways that they didn't have the capability to do before.
So for example, if you had a production budget, or if you had kind of certain limitations, you actually have the ability to go create things that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to create, but then apply, either a creative lens on top of that or human ingenuity on top of that. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yes, and they created short movies on it. Now think from a marketing standpoint, if you are trying to just do product shoots or commercials, and you needed to have a creative element as opposed to then hiring a whole creative team and having to go on site to go do these shoots, when you can now generate these things just via computer video and combine it with, I have this vision, now I could just type it up and then go create it. So it's going to be, we're going to see some amazing things coming out of the AI space when all these creative individuals are truly embracing it.
Let me just take, because I'm really curious about this angle, let me take this to the extreme. Is there a world where there are no pre-produced commercials on television or in streaming, but rather there's a live prompt? Let's say you're watching the NBA Finals and there's a live prompt and you want to make a contextually relevant ad based on what just happened, and then it goes and creates a 30-second spot. Is there a world where that could happen?
Absolutely. So it's not there right now because it takes a lot of time and a lot of compute power to generate that. But if you think about the exponential processing of this compute power and where we're going, these delay times or these create times are going to be shrinking. And so if you say, is there a world where it's just artificially generated content in near real time and put in front of you? Absolutely, that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it could definitely happen, and we're on the trajectory of things like that to come.
That's absolutely fascinating. I'm going to give you an extreme example because I want to illustrate a point. I was recently reading where the CEO of the dating app Bumble said that she was creating an AI app that let avatars of people, so these are the AI versions of people, avatars of people go on AI dates with avatars of other people. And then the avatars could come back and report to the real humans on whether there was a potential match. Now that seems a little nuts to me. How do CEOs need to think about where the line is about making AI useful, but not taking the capabilities of AI too far?
I did see all those stories, and my bottom line is really, what's the definition of too far? And I think ultimately the consumer and the market is going to determine that. And what I actually really liked about her ideas, and in my opinion, she was doing this correctly, which was she was floating out a bunch of different ideas that they're going to try this, they're going to try that, they're going to try this. So instead of going all in on one big AI project, they want to do these iterative things and just throw a bunch of things out there and see which ones work, which ones don't. That's the right approach, because if they put that out, if they develop that and they say this one works, they're going to continue to accelerate it. If it doesn't work, they're going to move on to something else. So I don't think there's really a way to define what's too far or what's right or what's wrong at the moment. But I will caution, and I say every company needs to kind of develop their own policies. And what I would say is use an ethical use of AI. Determine what's too far within your organization or what's the right way to approach it or not. I think everybody would probably agree with me that technology moves a lot faster than regulation. So I would not have any company say we're going to rely on the upcoming rules. And trust me, there's lots and lots of legislation working its way through all the houses and right now and all the governments, but they're all slow to react. And I think it's up to every organization to kind of set their guidelines and then maintain what they want to be true to themselves as to how to utilize AI.
I want to stay on the customer for a second because I think it's really interesting. I think there's an obvious answer to this question, but it may not be as obvious as I might think. Is there a difference in generational acceptance of AI capabilities from a customer standpoint? And is there a difference in generational assumptions of what AI will be delivering for me from a customer experience standpoint?
I would say absolutely, and not just acceptance, but I would go a step further and say it's going to be generational expectation, because everybody's going to be utilizing this. We truly are at the infancy stage. When you look about these capabilities and how fast it's accelerating, and what some of these capabilities are already doing from a customer service, from a personalization standpoint, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. And as generations continue to come up and are basically bombarded with all these new capabilities and these new tools, the bar is being raised very, very high. We're going to see every generation or every individual start expecting these types of personalized capabilities. So that's the other reason why companies really need to be thinking about this now as to how do they approach it, and not just for their current products and services, but look into the future. And I like people I love the think big about it, which is what are those big ideas? What would really be a game changer? Because don't feel limited by today's current technology, which is amazing, by the way. But think about, if we had this, that would be a real game changer for us or for our industry. And then technology will continue to accelerate to hit it.
You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about customer expectations personally recently, when there's so many areas of your life where you see AI built in. You think about your Netflix recommendation or your Amazon recommendation, and they're super smart. Yet there's been a lot of public discourse recently around Apple and Siri and what it's lacking and what they're going to be announcing in the fall around sort of AI capabilities. And so there is something very real about the customer expectation of not having AI integrated into your offerings as well, is there not?
Absolutely, absolutely. And Apple is a really interesting case, because you notice we haven't even talked about Apple yet. They seem to be missing from these AI wars at the moment. And even, well, take a step back, where they take so much compute power, and that's why all these things are kind of done back on the, in the cloud or in the server farms, like your Netflix recommendations and ChatGPT, and all that's basically done back in the cloud. Apple, they will be announcing something, and they're going to take advantage. This is, again, my theory. So I think you'll see some interesting announcements come June as to how they're actually utilizing their chipset on iPhones and in their hardware to do things much more locally. And you look at where the market's going. I mean, just look at Microsoft a couple days ago announced their AI PCs, which is a new generation of hardware with specific AI chipsets in them that they're bundling Copilot and their AI capabilities right into the hardware. So that's where we're going. And I see Apple really coming into that. And back to this, is everybody going to be expecting AI? The simple answer is yes. It's going to be embedded everywhere.
Great. We're getting more questions in the chat. I'm going to share another one with you here. What are your thoughts on compensation incentives for employees that upskill with respect to AI and to become objectively more productive?
I love gain share type models, and if you want to start putting in like a rewards and recognition type process or a competitive type process, if people can save money in the organization, I love the bonus structure of giving them some sort of cut of what they're saving. Not only does it help encourage them to generate new ideas and new capabilities, but if the company's winning, I would absolutely reward the employees who are helping you do it.
Yeah. Another one that's in is, what is the next thing that's going to wow us? So the most recent ChatGPT model just came in, and there was some really cool stuff in that, but you're on the inside, you're talking to all these people. What's the next big thing that's going to blow us away?
I want to first talk about the ChatGPT model, because there's a huge game changer in that that might be overlooked by a lot of people. But hopefully everybody has seen the videos and you see the voice assistant and the conversational AI. ChatGPT 4.0 is amazing in its capabilities, and just being able to have that interactive voice, its enhanced capabilities, all that's fantastic. But the big game changer, in my opinion, is that they're releasing it for free. No other model has done this. Everybody has this freemium version. They have their free version, which is usually an older or a lower model, and then you pay for the newer model. ChatGPT said, we're going to release 4.0 to everybody. Paid users have higher limits and more capabilities, yes, but the 4.0 model is available to anybody. That democratization of technology now, just think about the innovation that is going to come from that when literally anybody in the world who has access to the internet can now utilize the most advanced model that's out there. So I think we're going to see lots and lots of changes and lots of innovation just because of that. Now, where I think it's going, I mean, there are so many new things coming up and it's moving so fast that it's fun to watch. But one thing I will say, the big buzzword right now is everybody's talking about AI agents. And some companies are starting them and some companies are doing it well, others not. Has not been perfected, but I think that's going to catch up very, very quickly. And what that means is, think about it as opposed to just writing into ChatGPT that you're looking for, create me something here, create me a document. An agent is task oriented. So you would say, I want to accomplish this, go do it. And then the AI will figure out what tasks and steps does it need to take to accomplish that end goal, and can even reach out to different AIs specific for that need. So as opposed to giving it just instructions and asking it questions and building this document, you're going to be able to give them tasks to go accomplish, and they're just going to go get it done. So that's, I think, the next thing that will get fine-tuned in the AI world.
Great. Another employee question. How should companies approach the legal and ethical considerations around employee use of AI tools, particularly in relation to potential liabilities for copyright infringement, data breaches, or biased or discriminatory outcomes? Big question, and obviously a very, very big one in the field. We referenced some of the regulatory activities there, but how should companies approach those legal and ethical considerations around employee use of AI tools in particular?
Yeah, it is a fantastic question, and something that I know we don't have enough time to get into all the details, but I'll say this is why it's so important for companies to really figure out and set their policies. I mean, they need to say and clearly state, how they want employees to use it or how they want employees not to use it. And then when you start watching, it does have, I mean, there are a lot of cases of inherent biases, there's copyright infringement, there's all sorts of things that can come out of AI, and this is why it needs to be verified. I mean, people who are using any of these tools and just plugging it in, taking the results, sending it off, that is the wrong way to do it. Again, it is a tool. Use it as like a starting point, but you need to have that ongoing verification. You need to be watching it. If you're screening resumes against job descriptions, you need to be having a quality check to see how it's doing and making sure there's not bias getting into these models. If you're asking people to create material, you need to have people reviewing it, that there's no hallucinations in it, which basically these large language models creating information that doesn't really exist. So there's all sorts of things that people can do, but the bottom line is create your policies and have the quality checks at one stage of AI.
Great. Another terrific question that we've seen submitted. What industries are embracing this technology the most? Are there specific aspects of their business that lend themselves to these new technologies? What industry do you think can benefit the most from these new technologies? So industry-specific view of AI in particular.
Yeah, I kind of like to think about the industries, first of all, on a spectrum where you have very simple processes and you have very complex processes. And AI, in my opinion, is working its way in on both ends of that spectrum. So what I mean from a simple process is think like customer service and tech support, where publicly available information and you're just trying to service customers. Customer service is taking off in all sorts of industries because it's a very easy application. The other end of that spectrum, think about like healthcare, where you have very complicated products and very complicated solutions. The analytical ability in AI is really helping from a disease diagnosis, from analyzing reports, analyzing x-rays, and it's doing phenomenal work on that. So all these very complicated data intensive tasks or AI is coming into very, very quickly, as well as all these repetitive tasks and all these easy ones. I think every industry is utilizing it. Financial industry, fraud detection, because again, that analytical capability, it's able to look at massive amounts of data very, very quickly, and it's identifying these fraud use cases. Manufacturing, in regards to, we haven't even talked about, robots in regards to manufacturing and the intelligence that gets into that space. So manufacturing can utilize it from intelligent robots to help with the actual manufacturing components, as well as the data analysis to help monitor equipment and monitor production lines. So again, every industry has some sort of use case for it.
You know, you mentioned healthcare, and at our recent summit, we had some discussion around the terminal velocity of lifespan and how medical science is advancing to the degree that right now we add about a third of a year for every year's worth of technological advancement in healthcare. But by the end of this decade, it's expected that we'll be actually achieving terminal velocity. In other words, we'll be adding more than a year of lifespan to every year that achieves, which means we may just be living exponentially longer, according to that theory. Do you buy that?
I love talking to Peter Diamandis and hearing these conversations about that, and I thought that was just an absolutely fascinating conversation. And I am of the belief, I am cautiously optimistic at those timelines, I would say. I think it sounds unbelievable, but when you see how fast these technologies are moving, I have a hard time saying anything is impossible at this point.
Terrific. One last question for you, Kurt. What is your boldest prediction regarding AI? And we can't talk about a year or two, or you got to talk in months with AI. What's your boldest prediction regarding AI in the next 6 months?
I think, gosh, it is really hard. I mean, I can't even accelerate things that it's hard to imagine what is the one prediction that's going to come out. Things are moving so fast, and that's what makes it so much fun. But you're going to see advancements in regards to, again, more of these conversational AIs. You're going to see analysis in regards to a lot greater context windows. There's already context windows just means how much data they can actually process. You're going to see a lot more, larger applications there. Actually, one prediction I will make, or I just want to point out a trend that I think is happening. You know, we've talked a lot about ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, all the big large language models. Where I think this is going is we haven't even talked about open source yet. And open source is, there's a place out there called Hugging Face, which is kind of the de facto place where people just upload open source models. There's over 600,000 out there right now. You're going to see all these open source models continue to expand, and there will always be these big, large, jack of all trades models. But what I see happening, and this is going to happen very quickly, is these smaller, specialized models start becoming better and better. So you're going to see small healthcare tuned models, small financially tuned models, and you're going to see applications come up that are very specific for these purposes. And that's where companies are going to be able to do very advanced type of processing specific for their industry. So that's what I think over the next 6 months, you're going to see the big large language models are going to continue, but just watch and you're going to see lots and lots of advancement in regards to smaller, more specialized models, as well as localized hardware based. We already talked about Apple, so I'm not going to go back into that one, but that's where I think over the next 6 months, when we talk again about this, I think that landscape is going to look very different.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the time we have today. Kurt, thank you so much for your insights. We have a number of questions we haven't gotten to, and there are many very specific ones that likely apply to your business. So we're here at your service. Our coaches are happy to join you on a complimentary call to discuss AI as applies to your business specifically and how you can get started or how you can take it to the next level. The link is still in the chat. And stay tuned, by the way, for our next edition of this webcast series, Harnessing the Power of ChatGPT for Business, next week, May 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern with Raj Kapoor. I'll tell you now, you won't want to miss that one. Thank you again for your time today. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody.